Բարև ձեզ, այսօր տաղավարում հյուրընկալել ենք հայ-բելգիական առևտրի պալատի նախագահ Վալերի Սաֆարյանին. Thank you for being here, Mr. Safarian.
Thank you for hosting me.
Mr. Safarian, starting with the most technological event, WCIT, which was hosted by Armenia for the second time already, and you visited here to participate in this event, not alone, but with a Belgian businessman. What are the motivations and interests in this framework?
Well, as you said, we visited with a delegation of more than 10 businessmen out of the IT sector came with us. I'd just like to also underline that we were basically in full support of the Belgian embassy in Armenia that was the engine of the whole representation of Belgium to WCIT. The idea was basically to connect that sector of Belgium with Armenia, which has never been done in the past. We have done a lot of business mission, focusing on pharmaceuticals, food industry, but that's the real first time that we thought about, getting some representation of the ICT or IT sector of Belgium into Armenia.
And what specific outcomes do you hope to achieve in this context?
So WCIT is a big framework. It's an international framework. So it is basically the context of business-to-business meetings, and you have a lot of people coming from everywhere in the world. So it gives us a better argumentation to motivate Belgian businessmen to come. So I would just applaud the initiative of Armenia organizing such a summit in Yerevan, because I think it helps also, the embassies, the chambers of commerce to motivate some of the actors around the world. There is different fields because, when you speak about IT or ICT, it's very large scope, and we had a very large scope of delegation. So we had company coming from basically the software industry, looking eventually to subcontract development. Okay, we had companies coming from the data protection. It can be securing documents like passports or ID cards or whatever, to basically company coming from the pharmaceutical but using the artificial intelligence. So it was the delegation was quite large in terms of activity. So it's not easy to describe all of their assets and way they could basically find their partner or market in Armenia. However, what I'd like to add is that IT is a very important sector in Belgium. It represents between 5 to 10% of GDP. If you look at the figures of 2023, it's above 25 billion euro turnover. I'm speaking about direct business linked to IT, but of course in each and every company, even in the financial sector, you might have some IT, activities, fintech, etc. So direct business is above 25 billion euro. So that is a major part of the Belgian economy. So connecting Armenia to that part of Belgium is, to me, very important.
And could you elaborate who were in the delegation this time?
Sure. So speaking about the big prospects, Ambassador of Belgium, Eric de Muynck, has been connecting with three, I think, big names. The first I would mention is IBA. IBA is a pharmaceutical company, but developing a lot into the IT. They have proton therapy, so they are treating cancer. They have sold the cyclotron. It's a specific Belgian technology with radio and proton therapy to Armenia about 20 years ago. So one of the medical center that we visited is basically using their technology, and I think needs an update. So they wanted to come and check, because at the end, Armenia using their technology could be also a regional hub for cancer treatments. So the picture is a bit bigger than just Armenia. Georgian patients might also come here for enjoying this kind of treatment. And that if you look about the cyclotron that was used about 20 years ago and purchased by Armenian Health Ministry 20 years ago, and the technology of today, it has changed drastically. So they came for it. Second company was ZS. It's a identification company that participates in a lot of tenders for passport, driving license, etc., etc. And they use also IT technology, of course, to increase their security. And you know, you had plenty of companies in different fields, but always linked to the IT or ICT.
Overall, how do you see the importance of WCIT for enhancing Armenia's visibility as a technology hub?
I think it's really important because Armenia somehow, to me, needs narratives. We need to change the narratives towards EU. We see Armenia, you know, going closer and closer to the EU. It's important also for the EU business community to understand why is Armenia part of the same, you know, club, let's say, if I may call it like this. And having a vice president of NVIDIA as an honorary guest, making a speech and explaining that, you know, they have more than 100 engineers designing chips in Armenia is an important narrative, because NVIDIA is not a simple company. I mean, it's a world leader. If I'm not mistaken, Siemens, which is a European company, has more than 1,000 engineers designing also in the designing process in Armenia. Those are basically facts and figures that needs to be communicated, and I believe the framework of WCIT is definitely a good way to advertise that. And so, yeah, I think WCIT is quite important, and I hope, it took 4 years to make the second version. I hope that the third version might happen in 2 years. I don't know what's the rhythm of the next WCIT, but we welcome the initiative.
Well, you spoke about Armenia and European Union relations. How can Armenia finally become a pivotal trade partner for the European Union? And we know that Armenia is on its way to European integration, also in the sense of entering the European market. What chances do you see here?
Belgian-Armenian Chamber of Commerce exists since about 19 years now. So I've been a witness of, you know, the evolution of the trade relation between Armenia and Belgium. I would say that about 10 years ago, everybody reminds that, you know, Armenia withdrew from the DFCTA agreements. There was this decision to be made to say, and that was a bit of a game changer, to be honest, because I could see that, I would speak about Belgium, the motivation towards Armenia and developing trade was completely different than when Armenia was in the trend in the early 2010 to, you know, to go into the, as you said, European integration. I would say being, you know, a crucial economical partner of Armenia. Let me call it this way. So that game changer has been, you know, a difficult time even for a bilateral chamber of commerce, because we could see that state initiative, you know, decreased, and, you know, the interest towards Armenia was a bit different. Okay, now of course, you know, the entire policy has changed with a more balanced, you know, vision towards what are the partners, maybe more opportunist, I would say, and in a positive way. So as I said, I think we need to come with narratives that I just mentioned, you know. Mentioning the IT sector and the development, and, you know, the fantastic evolution of some licorn you have here in Armenia, the collaboration with the US. I would just give an example. We have one very important cluster representing a cluster from Belgium coming here that came here for WCIT. Miss Agnès Flemal from Digital Wallonia. So she represents basically the potential investment from the Walloon region of Belgium in Armenia in the IT sector. Well, the vision that was shared during, you know, one meeting we had from her was, how could eventually Wallonia invest in a startup project in Armenia to sell then that technology or that end product to the US, because Armenia is definitively connected to the US, to the Silicon Valley. So you see, those are basically the things that the arguments that needs to be mentioned more and more to advertise and marketize Armenia in the EU.
Once you have mentioned that also diamond industry plays an important role in Armenian-Belgian trade, thanks to the Armenian diaspora.
True.
What results we have here?
Look, well, first of all, I'd like to say that Belgian-Armenian Chamber of Commerce, as doesn't need any medal about, or they started far before we opened the Belgian Armenian Chamber of Commerce. Those are historical families of Belgium that were in the diamond industry, and that basically connected with Armenia, with Republic of Armenia. Of course, the Antwerp diamond place has also decreased in terms of importance. If you look at the world diamonds markets, but it remains still, Belgium remains still a big partner, and diamond industry has always been one of the, let's say, key factor of the turnover between Armenia and Belgium. Our aim is to make sure that other sectors also become as much as important as that particular sector.
What other Armenian products or sectors do you think have some potential of success in the Belgian market in the near future?
Look, coming back to the IT, I would say that, and I would not necessarily focus on Belgium, but what I will say is applicable to the whole EU, and certainly the old Europe, like France, Belgium, Netherlands, etc. Look, there is a shortage of competences and employees in the IT sectors of about, estimated in 2023, of about 15,000 persons in Belgium. So each and every IT company is suffering right now of a lack of recruitment. So I believe that Armenia could, in a way or another, connect with those European companies, and particularly Belgium, to say, look, we have skilled staff. They know IT. They maybe went to TUMO a few years ago and continued there, to university, and their academic parkour made them, a potential candidate as a subcontractor here in Armenia. So that is the first point. So secondly, I think Armenian technology in the IT field might also be used, for e-governance, for different markets in Europe. And I would like to emphasize that Belgium should be the hub, or definitively should be thought as a hub for Armenian companies for two main reasons. First of all, because as I mentioned, IT is a very important market share in our GDP. So we are definitively a leading country into that industry. Secondly, because Belgium has always been at the top in terms of being compliant with the EU regulation towards data protection, cybersecurity, etc., etc. I can mention GDPR, I can mention DORA, NYS. Armenian companies that want to, use consumer data in Europe will have to respect those legislation, which are, very deep. And Belgium and Belgian companies, so Belgian potential partners, might be the excellent bridge for those, business perspective.
Well, let's move on. Once in one of your interviews, you have mentioned that Belgium serves as a logistical gateway to Africa, which remains an underexplored market for Armenian businesses. How do you envision Armenian companies benefiting from this unique advantage? Look,
Africa is a continent I know very well, because professionally I'm active over there. Armenia is part of Francophonie, and I believe that this initiative that took place a few years ago has not to be limited to cultural aspects or political aspects, but business has to be part of the map of this framework of collaboration. And if you look at Francophonie, majority of French-speaking countries are African countries. Okay. The largest French-speaking country is Democratic Republic of Congo. So obviously, if Armenia is part of this world, Armenia needs also to over-connect with this part of the world. That's the first reason. Secondly, I would say that African market is maybe easier than other markets. When I say easier, not on every aspect, but being a supplier, providing services or providing food, providing medicines, is not as competitive as Europe. It's not yet a mature market. So that's the second reason. The third reason is also that basically Armenia could use, once again, Belgium, for example, as a hub for many reasons. Because you have between Belgium, for example, and DRC, a double taxation avoidance agreement, which is not basically for all European countries. It's specifically for Belgium. So Armenians setting a hub in a subsidiary or in Belgium to cover Africa would enjoy that double taxation avoidance agreement. Additionally to that, as you mentioned in your question, Belgium is a logistical gateway. I mean, you have direct flights from Brussels Airlines each and every day in almost all French African-speaking countries, and then you have the port of Antwerp, which is directly connected to other ports of Africa. So yes, I strongly believe that Armenian entrepreneurs should think also, if they are into exports, not to maybe limit themselves to Middle East and for former CS country and maybe Europe, but also thinking about Africa.
Is this just a proposal or idea?
No, it's not just a proposal or idea. I've been myself involving, free of charge, because all what I do for Armenia is not related to my direct business. I've brought some Armenian businessmen into Africa already, and they are connecting and trying to sign contract and sell some of their products, and voila.
And in which sectors are these businesses?
Well, it can be in IT, of course. And even now there is a thinking about mining also.
The Belgian Armenian Chamber of Commerce has been working for 20 years, as I know. How would you sum up the work, and how has the Chamber facilitated the growth of trade between Armenia and Belgium?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. I mean, can we speak about achievements, etc.? What I can tell is that in the last 19 years, we will celebrate our 20 years anniversary next year. We have brought to Armenia more than 200 companies to come. Some came to explore, some came to sell products, some other signed bilateral agreements, some other. So the idea, of the Chamber of Commerce is to intermediate, but we are not there for them to sign the contract. I mean, that's not our duty. The idea is about connection, etc. And I mentioned that, we have now an embassy of Belgium that opens about a year ago. That is a very important factor, because it shows also that Belgium is appreciating, the collaboration with Armenia, and that Belgium is seeing perspectives of developing a trade relation with Armenia. So I suppose also that the job we have done advertising about Armenia in Belgium has also somehow motivated that decision, hopefully.
And what further goals does the Chamber have?
Look, being a Chamber of Commerce is about finding volunteers, because none of us is paid for what we are doing. So the further challenge is to find a new wave of Belgian Armenians or Belgians motivated about Armenian or Armenian in Armenia to join the group and maybe take the leadership. It's been now about 20 years I'm the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and sometimes you need to give the relay to fresh bloods and new blood to come with other ideas, etc., etc.
Once you have proposed also a Benelux-like union for the South Caucasus, I would like to talk about this a little bit, involving, this union will involve Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia. Do you still believe this vision is achievable?
Look, I know it's a very sensitive topic, definitively, but proposal sounds like an utopia. I understand that. Although I see that Armenia is speaking more and more about the peace cross points being, the region, and I strongly believe in that, because I believe that to avoid war, you need trade relation with your neighbors, definitively. That's the only reason why countries don't make war. And if we look at the history, the recent history in Europe, after the Second World War, who could have think about Germany and France, hand to hands? I mean, the narratives about Germany were very negative, of course, with what they have done to the rest of Europe during the two wars in the 20th century. So, we have to hope. And I believe that even sometimes giving those message and seeing on a long-term perspective of collaboration between Armenia, Georgia and Azerbaijan is certainly another pressure we can put on our neighbor Azerbaijan to come down with, you know, their narrative and aggressive narrative, because I strongly believe that the only perspective is to, in a way or another, force them to work and collaborate with Armenia.
Thank you for the interview, Mr. Safarian.
Thank you for hosting. Շատ շնորհակալություն.
Հարգելի հեռուստադիտողներ, ես զրուցում էի հայ-բելգիական առևտրի պալատի նախագահ Վալերի Սաֆարյանի հետ։ Կհանդիպենք։